All right, so now I've got an alternate version of the patch, the bass G patch, and I'm going to show you what that sounds like. That one has got my bass guitar going into a direct injection box. So the main difference here is there's some gain on the input and the output. You'll have to switch that out if you're using this with line level instruments, if you're using a preamp with this. The other version of the patch, the bass Laserjet Toaner, is set up for line level. So let me just show you the dry sound here. And let me now show you with the octave, the Boss Octave OC5 pedal. But no Zoia. Now, with the Zoia patch, now if I throw in a little bit of reverb after the Zoia, this is not in the external effects loop, this is the Zoia going into the OC5, then adding its own grit, and then into a little bit of reverb from the rooms, and we get I'm just going to show you the dry patch. So that's the dry patch we're running on. And if we skip the Zoia and just send it to the external pedals, this is what this sounds like with the chorus. And here's with the chorus and the Lizard Queen. Now let's go to the Zoia. We're going to be bypassing this effect initially. So this is just with EQ and compression. No effects loop, no dirt. Let's send it to the effects loop here. And if we want to hear it with just the chorus, this is that. I'm going to throw back on the Lizard Queen. And now to enable the dirt section here, we're going to need to put this in performance mode by pressing the right two stump buttons at the same time, pressing and holding. Alright, we see this blue pixel here, we're in performance mode, press the middle stomp switch. Now we've got that dirt section in here. And these two can be toggled independently, so for example if I just want the external effects loop, I can toggle that off. I can also go the other way and keep this dirt section and turn off that external effects loop. Or turn them both off and then just keep, the parametric EQ and the compressors. And that's the patch. All right, let me walk you through this patch. So it's on pages 0 to 8, and the idea is you've got your input, a compressor, a parametric EQ. Now you've got your compressor settings here with attack, release time, compression ratio. You can change the gain from the compressor here. So by default here it's 4.5 decibels. You can change it to whatever you need to. And you've got a mix here for the dry signal versus the compressed signal. You then go into 3 bell filters. So these are your low, your mid, and your high gain. Here I'm scooping out the mids and boosting the lows and boosting the highs a little bit. I've got this set up for a bass patch on the new bass, so pretty low frequencies here, but you can change these to whatever you need. And then on page 2 of your parametric EQ, this is inspired by the Empress Para EQ Mark II. So for bass, you've got a high pass filter and a low pass filter bookending a low shelf and a high shelf. And these 2 pages give you your parametric EQ. The next page on the list is page 2, which is a low pass filter. Right now set at 80 Hertz. This is going to be for bass effects. You have a toggle on the left stump switch that enables or bypasses. It's enabled when this second pixel here is lit green. That sends you out to an external effects chain. I've got 2 pedals here, an Electro-Harmonix bass clone and an Electro-Harmonix Lizard Queen. We'll see those in the loop in a second. And then if you go to the next page after the FX loop, you've got another 2 pages of parametric EQ, same setup as on the first page, so I'm not gonna belabor it. You've got your 3 bell filters for your lows, your mids, your highs. Here in Dispatch, I'm boosting the post effects lows a little bit, scooping the mids again, post effects, and then boosting the highs a little bit again. You go into another same setup of a high pass and a low pass filter bookending, and then you've got your low shelves and high shelves. And here I'm centering my high shelf here, post effects at 1048 Hertz and 261 for the low shelf. That's just what works for this patch. You'll have to play around a lot with these values. These are kind of starting points for a bass patch, but these are, it's EQ, compression, and so on. You'll really have to dial it in for your own patch. It's very much not a set it and forget it kind of thing, but it's the modules kind of in an order that makes sense that you can then dial in. And what I would recommend is if you've got it set up for a particular synth patch or for an actual instrument and you want to use it for that, I would just recommend, tweaking around, finding what works, and then saving it as a separate patch so you don't have to remember what your EQ settings or compression were. That's what I've done in a couple different patches on this and on my bass guitar. So then if we go to the next page after that, we've got this 2 pages here that I've labeled dirt. The way these work is there's another stomp switch control here in the middle stomp switch. You've got to be in performance mode, which you'll know if you've got this pixel here lit sky blue, lit light blue, and then that toggles on and off. It's on when this pixel is lit, and what that'll do is, oh yeah, you've got a noise gate here. What that'll do is it'll go through this section that has an all-pass filter, a low-pass filter with some feedback going into a fuzz section, and then you've got a low-pass filter here. That goes into a second page that has tone control. Now this one isn't a full-on parametric EQ to save CPU. This patch is pretty CPU heavy. By the way, I'm running firmware version 5.32, and it's consistently in the 90s CPU when it's running, but it should run fine on 532. You've got your tone shaping here. Right now for this patch, I'm kind of undoing a little bit of what we were doing before, because this fuzz here is adding a lot of high end. So I'm taking away a little bit of low end, adding a little bit of mids, adding a little bit of mid, adding a little bit of high end, and then this audio balance here. What this is doing is mixing what came out of your effects loop, or if it was bypassed, just a high pass signal, with the fuzz. So this is just blending how much of the fuzz you want in there. And then here at the end, you've got at the bottom here of this page. Now this is page 6, dirt tone mix. This is also your master blend of your input signal after compression and the first parametric EQ, and everything that's gone in the chain so far. So the external effects loop, if you've gone there, or the high pass filter if it was bypassed, and then whatever came out of this dirt section if it wasn't bypassed. You mix that's on one side, you mix it with what came out of compression and parametric EQ. Right now for this, I've got a mix of 45%, so it's slightly more, just a compressed para EQ signal then mixed in with the external effects loop and the dirt when I apply them. And then if we go to page 7, here's kind of a lightweight multiband compressor. So you've got a series of SV filters here, splitting your frequency bands into a low, mid, and high. And then those each get sent to separate compressors. First compressor starting here, the orange, and this green, and this other shade of green. And then at the bottom here, you've got your mixer for each of these compressors. So this is your low end gain, mid compressor gain, and then high compressor gain. And this is everything. However you've mixed your signal goes through that multiband compressor, and then you've got your output. The way this routing works is it's a full-on mono patch. Input goes in the left input. The external effects loop is left output for the effects send, and then right input for the effects return. And then your final output is your right output.